Big series coming up at Kauffman Stadium this weekend. The Detroit Tigers coming into town. This is a huge test for the Royals and see where they stand in the AL Central and against one of the best teams in baseball. We'll preview that. We'll talk a little minor league and whatever else you guys want to talk about live on in the chat here on One Royal Way. We're back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are live on YouTube right now. If you're listening on the audio side, be sure to come hang out Sunday night and Thursday night. We go live at 8:30 Central on YouTube and do the normal show there. And it's just a chance for you guys to interact, add your thoughts, add your questions, help drive the conversation. And I appreciate that as we go through this. Tonight, a little bit different because we don't have a game to talk about, and I've already recapped the entire Cincinnati series. So we're just going to do a preview of the series this weekend against the Detroit Tigers, and then I'm going to go through team by team, some standout performances, some guys to, with some notable performances across the minor leagues. Maybe we'll do a Jack Caglione update. I know it's what you guys want to hear because we just want to know when he's going to get to Kansas City. And then any other questions you guys have in the chat, feel free to pop them in, and it'll help drive the conversation, give us some topics, and, try and get this thing to 25, 30 minutes. So hopefully we'll do that. Make sure you're subscribed on all platforms, especially on YouTube if you are watching this live and you are not subscribed. And be sure to hit that like button. That helps more people see this video and help grow this channel. Let's get to my goal is trying to get to 800 subscribers. By the time the All-Star break rolls around, we're around 730, getting close to it. So let's keep that number going and hope that we can get there. Chris Palmer hops in here. I'll go and pick Cags up myself and drive him to KC personally. That's what it takes for him to be called up. There are some other things that, kind of going with the Caglione conversation that it's not just him just sitting there. I mean, there's some financial stuff that, that's at play and, not necessarily service time manipulation, but just the less he accrues this year, it kind of works on the back end for the Royals. It makes it more cost controlled long term. Well, we can talk about that later if you guys want to get into it. But this show, as always, brought to you by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our partners in Possible here at Kansas City Sports Network. And this show, we can't thank them enough for their support, allowing me to do this show 3 days a week for this entire season, which I've enjoyed the hell out of. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed it, half as much as I have, because this has been fantastic. It is Thursday night. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. So cheers to everybody that is tuned in right now. And if you're listening in the morning, I recorded this at night, so it is a little more rational. So let's just go ahead and get right into this series that the Detroit Tigers coming to town. They're one of, if not the best team in baseball. They're playing really good baseball right now. And we're going up against some of their best pitchers as we go into the series now. The good news is Seth Lugo is going to come off the injured list, and he is going to start on Friday. It was originally going to be Michael Wacha, but they bounced him and Chris Bubich back a day. So Lugo basically spent true 15 days on the injured list, and he's back. They didn't seem concerned when he went on the injured list with that sprained finger. And so as long as that and the blister are cleared up, then hopefully we see the same Seth Lugo that we've seen for the majority of this season. On the other side, Casey Mize is going to be going for the Detroit Tigers. I believe this is his second start. He had an IL stint a little bit ago. And so this is his second start off of the injured list. His last time out against the Cleveland Guardians went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, 1 earned run, a home run, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. For the most part, he's been really good at 2.45 ERA in, I believe, what's the innings here? Right around 42 innings. They're about pretty close to it, 45 innings. But he did have that injured list stint. Let me see if I can find what he went on the IL for, just for posterity's sake, I guess. If I can find it. This is just great radio, I know. I should have had this a little more prepared. So he went on the injured list with a left hamstring strain. So That would be his, as I'm thinking about it, his plant leg on the front. So that could be something to watch out for. But, second start back, he's probably back into it. Um, I hope they don't send Noah back down to Omaha. He's been amazing. Chris, I agree. I don't think Noah Cameron's going anywhere. I don't think there's any reason for him to. This could be where they send Jonathan Bolin back and we see some shuffling in the bullpen, but I guess we'll see. I would be absolutely shocked if Noah Cameron is the move back to Omaha because I just don't think there's anything left for him to prove. Like he's proved it at the big league level for long enough now that they don't need to send him back down. Like this could be where you send like a Jonathan Bolin back down, or who's another righty that they brought up? I don't know why I'm blanking, but regardless, they make another roster move. Yeah, I agree. Like there's no way you can send him down at this point. If he had gotten blown up in one of these starts, you can go, okay, maybe he needs to go work on, X thing, and then we'll see him back up later. But at this point, I think you need to move Lorenzen to the bullpen. Noah Cameron stays in the rotation, and you just ride that until the wheels fall off. And if the regression hits him really hard, and we get to a point where he needs to go back down, then sure, like make it happen, and you can do some shuffling. It's the good news of having a lot of depth and a lot of solid pitching is if that happens for Noah Cameron, you can slot Michael Lorenzen right back in, and you're still in pretty good shape as a rotation. But at this point, he's proved enough. There's no reason for him to go back down. I just want to see this team come out and make a statement on Friday night. Like this is one of the best teams in baseball. They're coming into your park. You had a tough time with them when you played them in Detroit earlier this year. It was in the middle of that 7-game losing streak. You lose all but the final game, and you felt like it was a pretty cathartic win. It was an extra inning game. Walker pitched pretty well that day, if I recall. But they really had a tough time with Detroit, and that was when the offense had really struggled. But then again, the offense has struggled for basically 2 months now. So they're going to have to find a way to scratch a few across against Casey Mize. I mean, they got to him a couple of times last year. This is a situation where if you don't win this game, you have a real tough time on Saturday. Saturday, it's Tarek Skubal Day. And Michael Walker's going on the other side, so you know that he's going to keep you in the game. Tarek Skubal is coming off of a complete game shutout where he gave up 2 base runners and 13 strikeouts and did it in less than 100 pitches and was still pumping hundos in the 94th pitch of the game, 103. But the guy's the best pitcher in baseball, undisputed. And while the Royals have had some success against him, you don't want to get into a situation where you're desperate for a win on that day. If you win Friday, okay, yeah, you're going up against the ace. He's probably going to shove it. But at least you still have a chance. You put yourself in a chance to win the series on Sunday with your guy that's basically been your stopper, Chris Bubich, on Sunday against Keter Montero. And that feels like it's a pretty good spot for the Royals. Keter Montero's got a 4.54 ERA. Let me see if I can find some stuff on him for you because it's a name that is not incredibly familiar, but he had some time last year. Not really a high strikeout guy. The expected stuff is not great for him, and he walks a fair amount. Doesn't get hit real hard, but does give up a fair amount of contact and a lot of it in the air. So that could, hopefully that's someone you can take advantage of. And with Chris Bubich on the other side, I feel pretty confident going into that game. You win the bread games here, the sandwich, right? That's I've heard like on Talking Baseball, Jake Storiali, that's what he calls it. They win the bread games and not the middle game. Because I'm not going to go out there and expect them to beat Tarek Skubal, but maybe they surprise me. Maybe they just they elevate their game a little bit with that guy on the mound. That's what happened in that Sunday game. It was Tarek Skubal, and they got him for 3 or 4 runs, which was pretty unbelievable considering how he's pitched this year. Maybe they're able to do the same thing, and they just kind of have his number. And one of the few teams in baseball that does. But you have to find a way to win 2 of these games and not dig yourself a massive hole in the division. Now that it's not like the division is lost, but the Tigers have played so well. You're 7 back right now. You lose 2. I mean, you're back 9 and putting yourself in a real tough spot. And you're tied in the win column with Minnesota and Cleveland, but you don't want to put yourself in a spot where that, that has to be, you're so far behind that you're just having to dig and beg for a wild card spot. And they're still sitting in a wild card spot as of right now. They're tied with a couple of teams. They're actually one back. I think it was I think the loss maybe on Tuesday is what knocked them out. But they're only a game back, and they're tied in the win column with Houston, Minnesota, and Cleveland for that spot. It's just they played 2 extra games, so the win percentage is lower. They're 30-27. The rest of them are 30-25. So you're not too far away here. And winning 2 of these games probably puts you back in that position to get back into a wild card spot. Feel pretty comfy. You're 18-11 at home. There are opportunities here to win these games. And what I learned from that series, because there were some close games in that series against the Tigers. I'm going to go back and check those scores, but I'm pretty sure they were pretty close games, if I recall. Again, guys, I apologize. I should be more prepared on some of these episodes. And some of these episodes, I just fly blind. Usually the live episodes, I fly a little more blind than I should. But in those games, it's 6-1, 7-3, 3-1, and then they win 4-3. That first game got away from them, and then I know they had chances late in the second and the third, but the offense just hasn't been good enough. So, or they're either going to have to surprise us and pull out a big offensive performance against either Mize or Montero, or they're just going to scratch across some wins and, do it through pitching and defense and a few little bits of timely hitting. Thank you very much. This is actually an authentic, I believe this is, if I remember right, like Clay Dungan's hat, I think might have been, if that's a throwback name that I know people haven't heard in a while. I was given, some hats by a friend on the team few years back, and I needed to pull a hat because I have, I normally shave my head, but I haven't in a few days just out of pure laziness, and it looks like I'm trying, so I needed to throw the hat on so that it doesn't look bad. You guys, if you are follically challenged like myself, you understand. I'm going to take a short break here. There's not much to say. We know what this team has to do, and they have to find a way offensively to put together some runs, pitching, defense, and try and go win a series. Make a statement, and don't let Detroit run away with this thing, as the calendar flips to June. It's pretty simple. Those are the keys to victory, right? And just don't get it shoved up your ass by Tarek Skubal. The dude's very, very good, but I'd prefer to not watch another CG Shuddy with 12, 13 strikeouts. But we'll see what they're able to do. I'm still excited. I still have high hopes for this team, and this is a big part of it. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back, and we'll talk a little minor leagues.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Folks, it's playoff time, and if you're still just watching games, then you're missing out. With Pick 6 from DraftKings, you can turn your hoops knowledge into real cash. Just make your picks, track your score, and if you hit all 6, you're looking at bigger payouts than Prize Picks flex plays. Nobody's dropping better payouts than Pick 6. Hit 6 picks, and that's 25 times your cash. And if you beat your competition, you could be looking at a 500 times bag in your pocket. And right now, new customers can get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry. Here's what you got to do. The playoffs are on, so why not take a shot at making a little money while you're watching? Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN to play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks. Better payouts, bigger wins, only on Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Gotta love Tucker, man. What an elite ad, as always. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk a little minor leagues. We haven't done this in a little while, so just we'll profile a couple of guys. I'm just gonna throw a bunch of stats at you, maybe some thoughts on just how I feel about that player. But just I know everyone's paying attention to Jack Caglione, and totally understandable. But there are some other guys having some really good years in the minor leagues, so I want to be able to give them some shine as well. We'll start down and we'll go low A and work our way up, kind of like we did on the show the last couple of years with Jordan and Josh. Start in Columbia, we'll work our way up to Omaha. In Columbia, so as of right now, they're 25-22. That's third in the South Division of the Carolina League. That is not. And what's interesting about the minor leagues and what they do, they designate first half champs and second half champs. The first half because a lot of these rosters turn over halfway through the year. Guys get promoted, and the guys that were drafted go. So it's almost brand new teams halfway through the year for the most part. A lot of guys will spend the full year there, but promotions happen in June and July. So it's not always, the teams aren't 1-to-1 over the full year like you often see at the major league level. So you see that more in like low A, high A, double A, first half, second half champs. So that'd be something to watch. Maybe not for the full season here, but for the second half, if they can hang on, they get some solid drafted guys to go have a chance. Some hitters of note here, obviously Ramon Ramirez. There's some names that you guys know. Ramon Ramirez. He's slashing 257, 374, 493. It's a 139 weighted runs created plus. The ISO, which is isolated power, is 236, which means he hits a lot of extra base hits. He hits for a ton of power. It's a very power-oriented bat, very kind of Blake Mitchell-ish. Like it's kind of on that same mold. Not as much swing and miss and strikeout, but a very power-oriented catcher. But he's also 20, and they already have Carter Jensen and Blake Mitchell in the system. This is the third of the 3 big name catchers that are in the organization. And I don't know how much longer he should catch. I think you just make him a first base DH and just let him hit, because he will absolutely hit his way to the big leagues if you get him off a catcher. And he's a fine defender. It's not like he's so terrible they need to stop him catching, but Carter Jensen has proven Blake Mitchell's a high-level catcher. So one of them is going to have to move off. He would be the one that I would move off, and just because I think the offensive ceiling is crazy high. Like he could be a Salvador Perez type offensive player. I know it's kind of a lofty goal, but like a very power-oriented right-handed bat. Osbel Gonzalez is a dude I absolutely love. I am so excited for him, and I want to see him develop just a little bit of power, because the slash is 303, 419, 364. So he doesn't strike out a lot. He walks. He steals a ton of bases. I think it's over 1 a game so far this year. It's 40 stolen bases in 44 games, so pretty close. I mean, he's going to flirt with 100 stolen bases this year. And Carolina League dudes run wild. I mean, it's absurd, some of the stolen base numbers, but that's a guy to continue to watch. And I've talked about it a bunch. He has the profile to be an everyday center fielder in the big league someday. Now, it's way down the line. He's 19 years old. This is his first full year of affiliated ball, but a lot to like with what he can be. He is someone that I'm going to continue to dream on and think that this is somebody that can actually be, a part of the future of this organization, even if it's a little bit far away. On the pitching side, David Shields has been a name certainly to watch. He's had a really good start to his career. I don't even know if he's got 20 innings yet. I got to take the minimum down to 10 just to be able to talk about him. Where is David Shields at? He's down here. So David Shields, it's a 0.69 ERA. It's one earned run in 13 innings, 17 strikeouts to 1 walk. That's pretty unbelievable. Yep. Hey, I wasn't even looking at the screen. He's polished for a high school arm. Yeah. It is. I had the same reservations and concerns when they drafted him that I did when they drafted Frank Mazzucato. And I know those are two different scouting directors and player development systems. There's a lot that's changed between, even in that time. But prep lefty is a super risky profile. Prep pitcher in general is super risky. But he looks incredibly polished. He looks like, if he adds some velocity, the delivery is repeatable. The mechanics are clean. He's got a really solid feel for breaking ball and changeup and landing them for strikes that Mazzucato just doesn't have, and still doesn't have for the most part. And he's chronically in the strike zone, which is something that Frank Mazzucato continues to struggle with. The feel of pitch and the feel for command, like it feels kind of Noah Cameron-ish, but I think there's a little more ceiling with David Shields compared to Noah Cameron, just because David Shields 18 years old. Like he's just now 18 years old. He just turned 18 this past fall. He was 17 when he got drafted. So long runway here. We're not talking about David Shields in the big leagues until probably like 2028 at the earliest. But there's a lot to dream on there. I like a lot of what he does, and they're probably going to keep it slow and work him in gradually. Probably spend the whole year in low A, but if he continues to not walk dudes, I mean, you probably can put him in high A at the end of this year, give him a couple starts, see what he's got. Certainly, a name to watch as we go forward. Blake Walters, on almost basically the opposite side here. It's a 4.66 ERA. He has 29 strikeouts to 28 walks. Yes, Reed, I agree. So, for audio listeners, Reed Bankston. If I said that wrong, I apologize. Like Shields significantly more than Maz, mostly because of where they got him. I totally agree. Now it's 1 round difference, but that slot money makes a little bit of difference too. But I like Shields a heck of a lot more because there's a way better field to pitch. There's high level command at 18 years old, even if the velocity is not quite what you'd like. There's room to grow, and the dude's got he's pretty built for his age as well. So some names to watch. Yeah, Blake Walters, I was super high on last year, and I've been burned by that. That's where the prep righty risk came in. He's walking nearly as much as he's striking out in 36 innings. It hasn't worked out, and that's why drafting prep righties early is very risky, and why you don't see a lot of teams do it as much anymore, and rather just let those guys develop in college. It sucks because I thought he could be someone that was, have that sort of impact like David Shields did. I thought of them kind of similarly. We'll go ahead and move on to Quad Cities now, who's having a fantastic year. I believe they're first in the Midwest League. In the West Division of the Midwest League, they're 30-17. They're up 3 games, plus 48 run differential. The only team that's higher is West Michigan, with a plus 102 run differential. That's nuts. In, was that 48 games? My goodness. Give me just a moment to get all this. I did not have all these tabs pulled up, so now I got to go and go to the Midwest League, pick a prospect, and you guys should know this by now. I live look up stuff. I don't have a lot of stuff prepared right away. But that's why you guys listen, because of the authenticity. Nothing here is super cookie cutter and ready to roll. It's just who I am. Offensively, the guys that I really this is a guy that I like a fair amount, even if I don't exactly know what he's going to be at the big league level. But Callan Moss was a dude I liked at the end of last year. He was an undrafted free agent that went to um, that went to Columbia last year and kind of crushed it at the end of the year, slashing 252, 381, 404. One thing about this Quad Cities team is those dudes will take a walk. Now, some of that is the pitching in high A is wild. But they have how many guys they have with a double-digit walk rate? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys that are qualified. That I took it down to about 40 plate appearances just to make sure that I could talk about a fair amount here. But that's certainly intriguing because we don't have a lot of guys that take a lot of walks in the minors right now or in the majors, outside of a couple of guys. Eric Torres is kind of similar to Oswald Gonzalez. A lot of field to hit, not a lot of power. If he can develop any sort of power, then we're talking about a guy that can play corner outfield, possibly a center field, moving forward. He's only a year older than Oswald. He's just 20. They profile very similarly. A little less speed for Torres, I'm pretty sure. Let me check his stolen base numbers, which I know is not an ideal way to look at speed, but he's only got 7 stolen bases. He's been caught 5 times as well. Carson Rocafort, this is the second go round at high A. He's got a 116 weighted runs created plus because he's hitting for a fair amount of power, but he's striking out 34%, and he's a 23-year-old in high A. I know that there's a lot of speed there. There's some high-level defense, but if you're going to strike out 34% in high A, and this is your second go round there, you're not going to hit in the big leagues, and not even enough to where it's palatable. So I had high expectations for him when he came into the system when he got drafted a couple of years ago, but it ain't working out. Kind of just wipe my hands of that one. Kind of like Trevor Warner. I like Trevor Warner. He's striking out 30% in his second go round. It's just, it just kind of is what it is. Now, the thing about this that this team does have in spades is pitching. That has been their calling card and a big reason why they are where they're at in the standings. Drew Beam is one of the names that you look at quite a bit here. It's a 2.98 ERA, 45 strikeouts in 45 innings, 11 walks. He's in the zone. He is a high floor guy, a name that I like quite a bit as you go forward. A high floor starter, mid rotation type. There's nothing incredibly high level here. There's not like any elite carrying tool, but maybe the elite carrying tool is just command and commanding 4+ pitches. You don't see that very often, even for highly drafted college guys. Usually there's one big pitch and then some secondaries that lag a little bit. Nothing really lags, but there's nothing like a super high end, but I'll take a safe profile like that. Felix Arande is another name I like a lot. It's similar in that mid-rotation type role, 3.52 ERA, 44 strikeouts in 46 innings, 18 walks. And walks are up a little bit from what they were at low A last year, but certainly a name to like. Hunter Pattison's having a great start to the year, a 1.37 ERA. However, I think the FIP difference is pretty significant, if I recall. Yeah, it's like a 3.54 FIP. So he's going to regress a little bit, but a lefty, probably profiles as a reliever. But he's having a good, a heck of a start to the year. So it was good for him. Sorry, 1 second, guys. Sorry, my throat is dry on me. And I'm sure drinking alcohol is certainly helping me. Supermo had a comment in here as I'm looking at the chat before I go look at Northwest Arkansas. A lot of buzz about Cruz Schoolcraft going to the Royals at 23 this year, too. I mean, Bridges is an absolute type of nothing else prep lefty. Yeah. And doing mock drafts, like it was easier to look at and do when the Royals were drafting high, right? Because you kind of know who's going to go at the top of the draft. There's some some exceptions where an underslot happens and you have a Frank Mazzucato situation or Heston Kjerstad going to Baltimore in 2020. Now that draft was weird anyways, but he wasn't really thought of as a top guy, but there was an underslot deal. So those are the things you have to look at. I have no clue who's going to be available at 23 realistically. because there's so many deals that get made in the draft, and it's not just drafting best player available like it is in the NBA and the NFL. And as we get closer to the draft, I'll probably have some people on there a little more experts in this area. To think of some other names that might be available too. Schoolcraft is one that I've heard quite a bit. I also heard that he could go near the top of the draft. There's not a lot. This draft is not awesome, as I've kind of done a little bit of research on it. That there's no consensus number one pick. It's Ethan Holiday, but no one's super sold that he's a high level dude like his brother. So it's kind of hard to tell right now, who's going to be available and, what type of, are the Royals going to take a, guy at slot? Are they going to try and under slot? Are they going to maybe try and overslot somebody and try and get them to, they may have a pretty hard college commitment, something like that. I'm not sure. So it'll be something to watch for sure as we move into the summer. Moving on to the Texas League. Northwest Arkansas is tied for the lead in the North Division of the Texas League at 24-22, a +4 run differential. They've been kind of up and down for most of the season. And they've also had some departures as well. The upper minors have seen a little more movement compared to some of the lower levels for the Royals. Obviously like Mazzucato and Caglione and stuff, moving up. And I'll go to like a 30 plate appearance threshold here just because we've had a lot of names, so far. Unfortunately, the guys that are like I want to watch that guy. Like Jack Caglione's gone. Sam Ruda continues to kill it for it's a 161 weighted runs created plus. And I talked about him earlier. He's the West Point grad. But he's striking out 47%. So I don't think that's going to hold in 58 plate appearances. So I like watching him, and I'm excited. However, that's not great. I know we'll talk about, okay, who do you want to win the College World Series besides Oklahoma State? Obviously, I'd love for them to do it. The fact they even made the tournament this year when they were bad for most of the year, pretty impressive. Josh Holliday just makes regionals. That's what he does. If I had to pick a team, Coastal Carolina. I like the Chanticleers. I got a little soft spot in my heart for them. I went to the College World Series in 2016 when they won it. My buddy and I got there a day early and went to like we did like the practices. They had like the open practices and they did autograph signing and stuff. The only autograph signing we were able to go to was Coastal. So somewhere in my house in a box somewhere, I think I have a College World Series pennant that was signed by the eventual national champion Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. So I hope that they win. And they're a very good team. They're one of the best mid-majors, and when you get to Omaha, just about anything can happen. So that would be the team I would pick. I don't know if they're actually going to win it, but I don't know if they have a chance to win it, but that would be the team I would pick. Moving back to Northwest Arkansas here, Carter Jensen slashing 251, 332, 344. The batting average and the OBP have come up for him quite a bit in the month of May. The power has not come for him yet, at least. He's only got 3 home runs this year. Hasn't flashed the same power he did last year, which is a little concerning, not like red flag concerning, but his profile is very predicated on pull side power and, getting to that because there's not a crazy feel to hit. There is some strikeout stuff. There is some concerns against more velocity. And maybe that's what he's seeing a little bit. I wouldn't be shocked if maybe he goes up to AAA and improves, but it certainly has just not been the type of year that maybe we expected. I thought he had really taken a leap last year, and he had a solid little stretch in Omaha or in Northwest Arkansas at the end of last year, but it just hasn't quite come together. But it's starting to get there, and there's been improvements on defense for him as well. I know people have talked about Gavin Cross, and I talked about Gavin Cross. It looked like he had taken some steps forward last year. He's slashing 169, 212, 291. It's a 5% walk rate. It's a 31% strikeout rate, and it's a 36 weighted runs created plus. So he's not walking. He's striking out a ton, not making a lot of contact, and he's not hitting for hardly any power. He might just be done. And it sucks. That's first round pick. And it looked like he had maybe He maybe kind of turned a corner, and at minimum, he's a platoon corner outfield bat. I don't even think he's that at this point. I was hoping it because I saw some stuff last year. He flashed some of the kind of the toolsiness that he really carries. I don't even know if he has that in him anymore. So it sucks, but that's just where we're at. And he's 24. He had some back stuff at the end of last year. He obviously got super sick a couple years ago that zapped his power, and it looked like it had come back. It looked like it was going to roll, and it hasn't. So it sucks, but that's unfortunately the nature of the game, and it's what happens when you whiff on picks. Now that's not Brian Bridges, and that's not JJ Piccolo. That's the previous regime, and I hate playing the blame game, but that's just kind of the way it happened here. Go ahead and talk about some pitchers. There's really not a ton, unfortunately, of like guys that have really stood out and have had like these high level years in the minors, in Double A here. Ben Kudrna has a ERA near 6. He's got 42 strikeouts in 38 innings, which is good. The velo has come up for him a hair, which that's good to see because he was drafted and was thrown in the mid 90s and he was mostly low 90s through the first couple of years. The fastball shape isn't great. He's got a good feel for secondaries, but they're hammering the fastball, so you can't even get to those pitches a lot of times. So there's still some improvements that he needs to make. Hopefully the second half of the year, he's able to make some changes. Ethan Bosacker was a guy that I liked last year out of Xavier. I drafted him in the mid rounds or a couple of years ago. Where did I rank the farm system? It's probably somewhere in the low 20s or high 20s, like maybe 22, 23. Like the thing about the Royals, and this has happened the way it's been for the last couple of years, Reed, they have guys that I'm like, oh yeah, that guy's a big leaguer, but I don't know what the role is. Or like I've talked about with some of these guys, like Drew Beam, it's like a mid-rotation. Felix Arande, it's a mid-rotation. Osbel Gonzalez, he's got to hit a little more, but I think it's a big league center fielder. I think there's not a lot of surefire, even like Carter Jensen, Blake Mitchell. Like I have questions if they are for sure big leaguers. Like everyday types. Like Jack Caglianone's the only one that I look at it like, yep, that guy's going to be an all-star. That guy's going to be a high-level big leaguer for a long time. There are guys I think that can make it, but it's a lot of Nick Loftons. It's a lot of John Raves. It's a lot of Tyler Gentrys. It's a lot of Jonathan Bolins, like guys that are kind of like they're going to make it, but I don't know how high level of a impact they can have at the big league level. And that's a reason why you see a lot of these rankings down where they are. It's not like the system is bad and a depth of talent. It's not that, but it's just more, there's not a lot of ceiling and there's more floor. And with prospects, you really want to bet on ceiling. That's why you draft a Blake Mitchell, because there's high level power and solid defense. That's why you draft Jack Caglianone, because he puts up stupid exit velocities and hits the crap out of the ball and hits for a lot of power. You bet on tools. And maybe that's the difference that we've seen in the way that the previous Danny Otnaveros and Dayton Moore ran their drafts versus what JJ Piccolo and Brian Bridges are doing, which is they're drafting a more safe profile or a guy that we can kind of mold versus we're just going to go and draft elite tools and we're going to build around that. Maybe that works out a little more. We'll have to see. Time will tell over the next few drafts. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot else pitching. That's really the thing that kind of lags for them. At Omaha, if you guys just want to hear about Jack Caglianone, 0 for 2 tonight, 2 walks. He popped out in his first at bat. It was like a thigh high changeup, and he missed it and popped out to the second baseman. Next 2 at bats, they didn't really want anything to do with him. They didn't attack him at all. It was kind of all over the place and seeing if he'll expand. He expanded once and then spit on the next couple, walked, and then Richard Lovelady walked him on 4 pitches. And he sat there and kind of knew, yeah, they're not going to challenge me. And then his next at bat, he comes up and hits the ball 105 miles an hour, 400 feet, and it was a line out. But that's a loud out. That's kind of out that I'm okay with because it's a hard hit ball, pull side of the outfield. He's going to do a lot of that. And it was a middle pitch, and he hammered it, just got a little unlucky. I wonder how much more we'll see those middle 2 at bats. where guys just aren't challenging him because they don't want to give up the mistake. They don't want to give up the homer. And if that's happening, then once I don't know how much longer the dude needs to be in AAA, because if he's not being challenged there, like at least send him to the big leagues where he's at least going to, get challenged a little bit, be able to swing the bat. We'll see. But a much better night tonight. He had 3 hits. He had a couple solid at bat, 3 solid plate appearances tonight. So kind of got the 0 for 5 with 3 punchies in the rear view. And credit to him. And that's part of the growth as well that we want to see is, okay, there's all this weight and expectation. First series at home in Omaha, you're an hour and a half, north of Kansas City. You're right there, 2.5 hours north maybe. And like, it's a short drive. You're right there. People are, coming from all over to see, and 0 for 5, 3 strikeouts. And then he didn't let it affect him. He comes out the next day with 3 hard hit balls, and they're all, it's singles. And then he puts together 3 solid plate appearances today. He didn't let what happened on Tuesday affect him. That's a mentally tough dude. That's a dude that, can handle those types of at-bats and those types of days. And hey, let's go to the next day and get better. So that's some stuff there's some stuff to like there, certainly. Before we get out of here, I appreciate everybody that has hung out in the chat tonight, left questions, left comments, help drive some of this conversation. Do you have any more questions before we get out of here? I know that on the audio side, this is not as great for you guys but that's all the more reason to come over and hang out live on Sunday night and Thursday nights. B-Patch 25, I think the Royals go more upside, just like the 21 draft. Moscato, Kudrna, Jensen. I feel like you said, not a great draft. Yeah, from what I've read, it's not great. There's not a lot of consensus, big name guys. So this is where I think you just go and find some elite tools, 60 grade tools, and just bet on those. There aren't too many of those, but I think that's just where you have to take some swings, and hope you end up with some gold. It looks like that's going to do it for tonight. It's gone 40 minutes. I didn't expect to go this long. But how easy is it to get Storm Chasers tickets? If I was in Omaha, I mean, I'm sure you could call their ticket office and see. But I'd imagine it's not hard to get minor league tickets. It's the unfortunate part of it. It's a double-edged sword. Like those tickets are available and they're cheap, but also no one really goes. Right. And it's one of those kind of unfortunate things, only a handful of nights a year. But if you're in Omaha, or you're in the area, go watch Jack before he goes to the big leagues, because those tickets are a little more expensive to go to Kauffman Stadium. And I know that his debut, which I bet is going to be like on a Friday, that's going to be a pretty expensive ticket. So just something to keep in mind. But I do appreciate everybody hanging out here. I appreciate all the people on the audio side that consume it that way. Be sure to like, rate, subscribe, review. Supermo, thank you very much for hanging out and being a part of the conversation tonight. I will talk to you all on Sunday night. We'll recap the series with the Detroit Tigers, preview the week to come, and hopefully we're talking about some wins against the first place team. So we'll talk then. Have a great night. Happy weekend, and we'll talk soon.